Welcome to this session on proximity tracking. I'm Tom Wilburn. I lead Juniper's enterprise business in North America. My co-host is Jeff Aaron, our leader for global enterprise marketing. Jeff and I have been getting a lot of questions from customers and partners about whether network-based location services can help businesses and other enterprises reopen after the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we're joined by an expert on this topic, our own Brad Minnis, Vice President of Environment, Health, Safety, and Security. Brad, welcome to the panel.
Thank you very much.
Sunalini Sankavaram, our Product Manager for Location Services. So let me start this off first with a question for Brad. Brad, can you begin by speaking about the challenges that you face in reopening Juniper and bringing our employees back to work?
Sure, and thank you for the question. For companies like Juniper, we fall under the guidelines of several health and safety organizations around the world, including OSHA here in the United States. OSHA has issued some recommendations around COVID-19, but in general, under the general duty clause from OSHA, we are required to protect employees from infectious diseases and exposure to them. And that includes things like providing personal protective equipment, masks and gloves and other equipment that protects employees, but also potentially to provide temperature scanning in countries where it's permitted, understanding and limiting the concentrations of workers in particular areas, reducing touch points so we reduce the potential for the disease to spread within our company and to our employees.
If I pick up on that last point, Brad, were it not for a solution like we're going to discuss with Sunalini in a second, how would you make sure that as Juniper employees come back to work, there's not too many people in one building or concentrated in one place?
Yeah, and so that's a very good question. We start by limiting the numbers of people that we would bring back in the first phase of reoccupancy. Looking at no more than maybe 20% of the normal workforce. Now, prioritizing that to the most critical employees that need to be in the office. Without a solution to see where employees are in the buildings, I have to hire a number of security officers to monitor the concentrations in the workspaces, report and intervene to remediate where we may not be living up to the social and physical distancing guidelines. But it takes a number of staff to be able to carry that out. We do have things like CCTV and access control systems, but that tends to be a terribly manual process, and it takes a lot of staff and a lot of time to deal with managing the loading of the buildings.
Got it. So you start first by limiting the building access to critical employees, and then you look to make sure they're not all grouped in one area of the building or a conference room in too great a density. So with that in mind, Sunalini, how would we automate that with a network-based solution?
Absolutely, Tom. And Brad, you're right. I mean, in the absence of technology solving that problem for you, you'd be looking to hire people and figure out where people have been to find those areas of density. But that's where Mist, we believe, can really help, because Mist is a converged Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Low Energy solution. And what makes us different is the fact that in every Mist Wi-Fi AP, we also have the directional antenna array that is quite unique to us. And especially now when we're looking for a system that can deliver accurate location to solve the exact problem you said, where are people congregating? And even when you say, we allow 20% utilization in the first phase of opening up the campus, how do you actually know that only 20% is being utilized? Or in fact, are those 20% of people congregate in certain areas and therefore causing hot zones in any case? So with the Mist solution and with your thought process of maybe enabling the associate badges that are there today with BLE accessories, for example, this BLE sleeve that I have with my badge, when an associate now enters the Juniper campus, the Mist APs essentially will be able to hear that Bluetooth accessory on their associate badges and locate them. And we could locate them either in a quadrant of a floor in the building or in a conference room, and then automatically create either a dashboard to tell you where the hot zones are, or even alert the security personnel to let them know that there are certain areas running hot because there are more associates in that area than there should be based on the capacity of that area. So the network could do a lot more, Tom and Brad here, where we could provide visualization on where are the areas in my building that people are congregating, and also alert on that density.
If I understand correctly, Brad could specify zones of really any size in the building, and then specify a threshold of how many people he wants in that zone. And if they deviate from that, you'll alert on that.
That is correct. We could either do an absolute alerting just based on a number of devices we are listing, a number of badges in this case that we are listening to, or we could do an alert based on capacity utilization. So it's a 20 people area and there are more than 15 people there, which means already 75% utilization. We could throw an alert because that is beyond the 20% rule that Brad is setting up.
Great. And then his security team could monitor that centrally and dispatch somebody, or potentially we could even message those users to disperse.
Potentially, yes.
A little bit, Sunalini. Let's say Brad had conference rooms in the building and each one had a specified capacity. Could you narrow it down as small as a conference room to tell them whether too many people were in a room?
So interestingly enough, Tom, this is where the whole Wi-Fi high density design plays well, because as per best practices, you would deploy an access point in every conference room where you had 10, 15, 20 people in any case to provide good capacity for the Wi-Fi network. And since that same Wi-Fi AP now has the Bluetooth array, we could also give Brad and his team and the security team visibility into how many badges we're hearing in that conference room. So whether it's a 10 people room with 10 badges or 5 badges or 4 badges, we could identify that, we could visualize that, and we could alert on it. Jeff, you had a question?
Yeah, actually, the question I have for you, first, Sunalini, is this using standard BLE? Is this something new that hasn't been around for some time? And especially since we've heard a lot about what Apple and Google are doing with BLE, does that tie in with that? Is this anything new, or is this leveraging technology that's been around for a while?
That's a great question, Jeff. So essentially, when we say BLE, we're referring to the Bluetooth Low Energy technology. And that has been sort of a de facto standard that's supported in every iPhone and in every Android phone, whether you take Google, Samsung, any of these devices, as well as a lot of, like this badge I'm holding right now, this badge is also BLE enabled. So Bluetooth Low Energy has been in the industry since back in 2013, 2014. And now it has become very ubiquitous in mobile devices, in our laptops, in our badges, as well as in the infrastructure. The uniqueness, though, what is different with Mist and this solution essentially is the way that we locate on BLE, be it with the badges or be it with the mobile apps. And to your point of the recent announcements that Apple and Google made around social distancing and privacy and still being able to provide a solution that maintains anonymity yet gives you the contact tracing, that's where, again, Apple and Google are leveraging Bluetooth Low Energy as a way where one phone transmits, and what it transmits, it's heard by other phones around them. And then there's a question of, well, how can the Mist AP also leverage that same signal to feed that back into our hot zone detection algorithms? So what Apple and Google do to make the phones chirpier on Bluetooth can also give the enterprise the advantage to hear that signal and then take action on it.
So then, Brad, your solution would involve using the Mist wireless network that's already deployed, plus you would buy these sleeves for our Juniper badges that would equip everybody with a Bluetooth capability. And it sounds from what Sunalini said that it would solve the problem that you had about congestion in certain workspaces and monitoring 24/7 globally.
Correct. And the BLE sleeves for, our badges are made by a company which also makes Juniper's employee badges that we use here at the company. So a very easy addition to our program that would enable this technology.
Great. So if we take the first problem, you're going to load the buildings at about 20% of capacity. You're going to rely on this system to automatically tell you if you've exceeded that in general or in any particular part of the building. Let me shift gears now. What if an employee calls up and notifies you or HR that they've been tested positive for COVID and they've been in the buildings? How would you handle that?
Yeah, so this is a bigger problem. we have an obligation to notify any employees that might have been exposed to an infected person while protecting that person's identity, and to take steps to ensure any parts of our facility that were occupied by the infected person are specially cleaned. Now, in order to do that, currently it's a manual process where we interview the employee. We may look at camera footage or badge access history, but it relies a lot on the memory of the employee as to where they might have been and who might they have come in contact with. And it takes a fair amount of time to go through that process to identify any other potentially infected employees and spaces that might need to have a deep cleaning implemented.
And Brad, quick question. So it's my understanding that the employees have to notify you that they're infected, right? Is that kind of how it works? There's no specific database that you're able to pull from or, healthcare records that you're getting. It's really an opt-in where they notify you, correct?
Yes, and currently, around the world, there are many privacy laws. So Europe, it's GDPR, US, it's HIPAA. In many cases, we're not allowed to ask employees what their health condition is. Now, as part of bringing people back in the next phase to the office, OSHA has issued some guidelines that say we can ask people if they've had symptoms or they've been in contact, and we can also do things like temperature screening. However, in certain countries, we can't do any of that because that information is protected. And so, again, it's a manual process that we end up going through that takes a lot of time. And then we have to track people that might have been exposed for the 14 days. And the manual process is what takes a lot of time and is very inefficient.
So Brad, with the information we just talked about in the scenario I painted, I call you up tomorrow. I tell you I've tested positive. You take my badge ID, you look in and you see that I walked through the lobby, up the elevator, went to the break room on the 5th floor, went to my office, spent the day, but that Jeff Aaron was in the same zone that I was. Sunalini was not in the same zones that I was at any time. How does that information help you? What do you do with it at this point? Does it save you any money on cleaning? Does it help you respond faster? Do you notify everybody in the building? What's different having this system than not having anything at all?
Yeah, so there are a number of benefits to this. Number one is employee safety. So, having an automated solution allows us to move very quickly to determine, again, where was a person in the building? Who might they have come in contact with? Today, if you base things on memory, if I have an individual that reports symptoms that's on, the 7th floor of an 8-story building, right now I end up notifying everybody on that floor, even if we don't know that they had close contact with the individual. Still, from a measure of prudence, we would notify everybody. Having this solution enables us to narrow that down to the specific locations they might have been and specific individuals they might have come in contact with. So, number one, it allows us to quickly react, but it allows us also to limit the number of people that might be notified to those which are specifically at risk. The other things that it helps us with, if we have an outbreak in one of our buildings or a potential for an outbreak in one of our buildings, we may have to shut that building down. And so an outbreak can be way more disruptive than having everybody work from home, frankly. So what we really need to do is manage the congestion in real time, be able to move quickly if somebody reports a problem, and limit the amount of disruption that could cause as we come back to the workplace. The other things is resources. I mean, we have numerous facilities around the world, and not having to hire and train a bunch of additional people, we can monitor this in my 2 security operations center and ensure a consistent approach and policy everywhere. The other thing it does is provides definite cost savings. Our COVID response is not a one and done thing. We want to maintain vigilance and this could be extended for some period of time until either a vaccine's available or the medical treatments are good enough to where governments can reopen society. We can reopen the workplace without worrying about the potential that employees are going to get sick or exposed. So the cost savings are there, the preventive mechanisms are there, so there are a number of benefits.
Are you primarily viewing this as just a solution for the current COVID crisis, or is this kind of the new business continuity planning, right? The new norm that companies such as Juniper need to put in place for workplace safety, whether it's COVID-20 or COVID-21 or whatever comes down the pike. Is this just a new way that folks in your position with your title are really just looking at business continuity?
Yes, but it's not really a new way we've been looking at it. We've had a pandemic plan in place for 10 years that we've updated and modified based on new technologies that might come available, not only for global monitoring, but for our own internal monitoring and physical distancing and how we protect our employees in our facilities. So, as technology evolves, we're constantly looking at new potential solutions to really enhance our productivity, enhance our ability to respond, and protect people.
So on that note, Tom, I have a question for you, because everything Brad has said is really resonating with me in all the other meetings I've had with other customers around being able to proactively determine hot zones and disperse crowds, or being able to enable a contact tracing solution which programmatically lets us know who was in contact with who. What are you hearing, Tom? Brad's concerns, Brad's point of view cannot be unique, right? Whether it's the enterprise space, whether it's higher ed, whether it's retail, what are you hearing from other customers? Is it the same questions that are top of mind for them as well in today's world of COVID?
Well, first of all, it's one of the first questions I asked Brad if his position in charge of environment, health, safety, and security is common, and he's told me it is. But in talking to the IT organizations in many companies, they have a common concern. Whether it's a university, they want to know whether they can bring students back safely in the fall. If it's a retail store, can they keep their employees and their customers safe in the stores? And then obviously for enterprises like Juniper, it's important because we're going to bring back the employees that Brad designates as most critical, and we can't afford another outbreak after doing that. Sunalini, the question I had for you as I was listening is, Brad does have the right network in place. Let's say there's another person listening and they've got a network from another company. Can it provide this same Bluetooth capability? Isn't Bluetooth common in all the Wi-Fi APs in the market?
So yes and no. Yes, because Bluetooth is common in all the Wi-Fi APs in the market, but no, because no other system in the market has that directional antenna array built in for Bluetooth Low Energy into every AP like we do. And when you say, okay, why does that matter? Why should I care? Well, that is what enables us the ability to be able to locate Bluetooth badges with a very high level of accuracy, down to a conference room like you were talking about, Tom, as well as certain areas within the building, and then also provide data based on that. So say, okay, conference room A versus conference room B, this was the utilization, or area 1 or quadrant 1 of floor 6, this was the utilization. Nobody else in the industry can do that natively within their solution, but they just don't have the hardware, nor the software, nor the scalability to do this very easily. For example, as Brad said, he would now have a platform that he can enable consistently across all campuses that have the Mist infrastructure deployed. No other vendor can actually deliver that for Brad. It would only be the Mist solution, given the microservices architecture and the scale we have being natively cloud, to deliver a solution that's consistent, that's accurate, and has this granular location capability that we do from a Wi-Fi and BLE convergence perspective.
So Sunalini, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say one of our enterprises that we do business with, Juniper sells a lot of products, has a brand new Wi-Fi network from another vendor. Is there a solution that we could augment their Wi-Fi with if they don't have our integrated solution that could deliver this capability?
Now, ideally, of course, we want to provide them the benefits of our AI-driven simplified operations as well as the Bluetooth capabilities for location. But if that is not an option and this customer has just deployed a fresh Wi-Fi solution that they're somewhat happy with, we would then be able to augment that network with the BT11s, our BLE-only arrays. They are directional antennas as well. And they could actually be daisy chained from one switch port because they only consume 6 watts of power. So it could be a BLE only overlay network. And the customer, if they have a new Wi-Fi network, does not have to replace their Wi-Fi network to get the benefits of our location platform leveraging Bluetooth Low Energy.
Okay, so if they're a missed customer today, if they were planning a Wi-Fi 6 upgrade anyway, if they weren't happy with their current network, we deliver the integrated solution that get new Wi-Fi and this proximity tracking. And if they love their current Wi-Fi and never wanted to replace it, we could augment it with a BLE-only solution that could provide these services. Great,
and our
thank
cloud,
you.
that's absolutely correct. Yeah.
Questions of Brad. Brad, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Jeff,
Thanks for having me.
If our audience has other questions, either people in Brad's role or in IT, where can they go to learn more about the system?
Mist.com/contact-tracing is the best place to go for resources such as this, additional webinars, some of the data sheets on the premium analytics, et cetera. So that's a great place to go.
Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Sunalini. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you most, Brad.